All right, I'll call to order the International Falls Economic Development Authority meeting at 17:37. And we'll start off by anybody in the audience that wants to address. If not, we'll move to the consent agenda. Pleasure with that. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by the sign. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Financial reports, as you can see in your agenda, the report is not available.
Well, it's because of our transition to a new software system and shortage in the office and Katie leaving and a combo thing.
And I would report that I met with Betty just to find out what kind of monies are available that we could use. And based on everything that is committed, we have about in the neighborhood of $40,000 to $50,000 that would be available if we needed to use those funds for any economic development project that comes along. So,
thank you.
Okay,
Mr. President.
sir.
I would just add that there was an issue with some cash receipting, and the new software program we're trying to coordinate with the support staff at Civic Systems to try and get that software issue resolved, and we've been trying to since a week ago Thursday, and we haven't been able to coordinate with them to get that taken care of. So that's why we don't have the report out, because we can't print out the report until the cash receipting issue is reconciled. So that's why the city council's was a little bit abbreviated and didn't have a total for the checking account, and that's why this one isn't available. So the staffing issue is always problematic, but we could have done it. It's the software issue that's creating the problem for not having the written report. And I apologize for that, but there's nothing we can do about it.
That's just their staffing issue, not our staffing issue. Right?
I'm trying to figure out the technical aspects with getting it fixed. I think there's some concern with that or some confusion on their part. So we're working with their staff, their customer service technicians, to do that.
Thank you for that. Next on the agenda is to review the Multimodal Distribution Center shovel-ready development site. You have the flyer. City Administrator, you want to talk about that?
Well, I just want to say that I got an email from their office, and they said it was sent to me in mid-June when I was on vacation out of state, and they said we'd like to get this back in 10 days. Well, I got back, and when I got back I had basically 2 days to do it, and we were getting council packets out, and it was one of those things. So and they sent a template from another community, and so I worked with Paul Nevin, and I had gotten some text that he uses at KEDA to try and promote our multimodal site. And then I worked with Betty in our office at trying to get this formatted and the colors and stuff. And Dave Serrano helped us put the aerial photo that basically shows that just under 44 acres, which is the developable portion of the multimodal site. And then we've identified that there's roughly 12 acres of buffer area, as well as 21 acres set aside for roads/utilities. And so that's part of the certificate of survey and site plan that we've had for a number of years. But so we kind of had to put this together on short notice, and I got this information from Dave Serrano on a Thursday. We got it sent off to him Friday morning. The guy was retiring on Friday. That was a consultant to him. So we were scrambling. So the bottom line is that this is what we put together. We can change it anytime we want. I wanted to have it on the agenda to talk to you about it. One of the things that is not on here is that, I had more information under rail spur into the property, MD&W short line railway. I continued that with some text that, which something to the effect that it connects to CN rail, which is the busiest land port of entry in the U.S. But you can see from the way it formatted, and we were doing this on virtually no notice, so I was hoping that we could push this aerial photo down a little bit and make room for another line, and we can maybe still tweak that. So, and I think that's relevant fact to show how much rail traffic we get in here, and be more attractive. The area attributes were, again, stuff that, Paul had just put together, and we talked about the international airport, talked about the multidisciplinary workforce, which I'm always hesitant to talk too much about because everybody's got a workforce shortage, it seems, but the redundant fiber optic is an important issue, and we've got state incentives as well as other incentives. And then the workforce training through Rainy River I thought was important. So we just put this together. This is a draft. It can be revised. I did note, and when I got on their website, that there's some other information that needs to be updated. It doesn't show that we have rail access to the site, so I need to update that because clearly the spur's been completed for over a year. And so I need to follow up with that, and we'll do that. The other thing is I've indicated that I would be the contact person only because I'm here pretty much 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. But that person could be different. If I know in the past at the EDA level here, we've talked about the president and then the mayor being involved as contacts for our various economic development initiatives and responses, and so we could do that. Paul Nevinen's name could be included on there. So some of that, I guess I'm looking for feedback if this looks okay. The way this is going to be used is the state was going to have this and have these available on their electronic database for marketing these shovel-ready sites. If there's a trade show, they have these in print available that people could take with them. And they were going to provide hard copies for us, but then, of course, after we submit it, they said, well, there's been a change in plan, and we figured we'll just send you the electronic version. You can copy them yourself. The advantage to doing that, though, is that we can put more information on the backside if we want to do that, too. So if there's, if we wanted to show potential lot splits or parcels on there, we can do that. If we wanted to put more detail on it, it's basically a sheet you can take with you, look at, see if it works for you, and then get more information on all the nuts and bolts about size of the utilities, how far it extends into the lot, everything else that you might need to know to develop a site.
I think we need, to your question about who should be listed at the bottom there, whoever we choose, I think you're a good choice, should be available most of the time. And so that would either be, Brian's president, certainly will come to you, but you're not here every day. So I think Ken or Paul, because Paul's around a lot too.
I still don't have a problem having my name and the mayor's name on there, just in case they couldn't get Paul or Ken, that at least is before people that they could at least try to get a hold of. And I would think that all four of us would be knowledgeable enough about this to at least start a conversation.
That's fine too.
And I still would like the idea, with the MD&W short line, if they could put after that it connects to the busiest rail line, port, the port of entry being the busiest, second busiest in the country or whatever, but something to highlight that they're sitting right next to a real line to be connected to get moved goods in or out or whatever.
What you could put here is executive staff, Kenneth R. Anderson, city administrator, or Paul Nevinen, director of KEDA. And then underneath it you could put also Commissioner and President Brian Briggs and Mayor Bob Anderson. You have 2 lines there.
Any thoughts?
One thing that I do with economic development, I coordinate with, the mayor and Paul. Paul's got the information more readily at hand, and just I consult with him when we need to. I work well with him, and he and I talk back and forth when issues come up in the community. So, and I would do that anyway. So.
So we don't want to lose any calls.
Right. That's why I thought having four names on there is better than 2. So.
Yeah.
The only addition I would consider would be under the area attributes. I'm pleased that they have the international airport, but I wonder if we ought to have commercial air service listed.
People wouldn't understand that an international airport isn't commercial?
I've had the question too. There's a lot of places that have airports that don't have commercial air service. Was there 4 of them, or?
There's only 4 with the international airports, but there's 9 with air service in Minnesota.
Big Falls being one of them? No.
And the problem with these, and I think there's room to add that. The problem is that you don't want it to be so compressed or have so much information. I do that too much. I put too much stuff in there, and you got to remember this is a quick glance kind of a thing. You got to hit the high points.
You almost want them to call and ask questions.
Yeah.
That's true.
What do you think, INT''L commercial airport, just to condense it?
I think there's room. We can do that. That's an important feature for some potential employers that are bringing consultants and professional staff in and out of a community. It's, makes it a smaller world if you've got that versus not, especially when we're more remote than a lot of areas are. A metro area or something.
Let's be honest. When Joe was looking at the data center and essential air service at the federal level was being talked about, what was the first question he came to you for?
Yeah, is it going to take and cut out air service? Because Packer wouldn't be interested in being somewhere without air service.
Question on that?
Any other specific ideas or thoughts about what we can put on the backside? I haven't really talked.
What about a folding brochure rather than just a sheet?
Well, again, this is the model that they put together for all the shovel-ready sites for people to have on a table at a trade show that they might be at in Chicago or Charlotte or anywhere.
Okay, so this fits in with their format, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just it's easier to organize if it's a folded brochure, but you know what I mean, visually.
Really, when you look at it, the top, 10% of the page is just the title, and then the bottom is logos and all that, and well, heck, almost 25 to 30% of the page is eaten up by stuff that doesn't really tell you anything.
Right. I like the colors.
I do too.
Yeah, that's something we changed from the other ones, and purple and yellow stand out. They're always good contrast.
And our city colors are close, yeah. Nice.
Anything else? To number 6 on the agenda, review of 5 best practices for economic developers.
Mr. President, I just wanted to put this on here. I periodically see things when I'm going through the various emails and stuff we get, and I think one of the things that's lost is people get lost in the passion to do just a deal, and they get lost in all the details on some of these things. And sometimes I see these major synthesized points as being important for people to just and take a conscious effort of and reassessment and understand what's important. And particularly when we're talking about something like we were earlier today on the comprehensive plan, economic development section or redevelopment section in our meetings here, or KEDA meetings, is, what do we need to do and what works? And this is from somebody that's been in the industry for a while, and get a common vision. Well, that's exactly what we talked about with the comprehensive plan. And then it needs to follow through with our various strategic action plan, our various policies and ordinances, is have that vision and then follow up on that vision. And so I just thought that this was particularly, it seemed to be good, short and to the point. It was a 1-page, and I think these are things that are important to keep in mind. Number 4 talks about a business retention program. That's one of the things that we talked a little bit about earlier today, and it's one of the things that I put on my sheet for, you can't always recruit people from other places. You need to take care of your own, and that's where that business retention and expansion program is key. And you want to have one that functions well, keeps the dialogue open. You can even make connections with your businesses in your own community that don't have to go to Duluth or Bemidji or something to try and get supplier. You might have one down in the next block or the next in Rainier. So
Talked about downstream and upstream around the paper mill. Downstream services, upstream services, inventorying them and identifying them. I don't know if I ever saw the actual inventory, but that would be something you'd want to share with local businesses especially. Because sometimes, they're outsourcing. What was it? The example was an airline that needed a particular kind of something, seat or cushion, and Duluth ended up getting the work because they were aware of that particular niche for that industry. One of the things I'd like to say at this point is getting to know, KCCTV is, as they've had some problems because a contractor didn't properly wire the air conditioning, and so it burnt out our motherboard, and we're dealing with that. But one of the things that we really wanted to promote was this program called Getting to Know Your Community. And in there was to visit various businesses that would participate financially as a way of membership dues. To go in and take the camera in and interview the employees, talk about what this business does, and run that program routinely, thus introducing businesses to the community at large as a very successful program in Grand Rapids. So I just want to share that with you.
Anything else under that?
Other thing, and I didn't put it on the agenda, but I did include another attachment, and I came across this on Friday, and I already had the agenda done from the day before, so I didn't add it, but it says, meet the mayor who used millennials to revive her small town. And it sounded eerily familiar to us a little bit, on the bottom of the second page.
You didn't hang an elephant, though.
No, but it does talk about in 2015 they had a closure of the CSX railroad. We lost 360 odd jobs. We also lost another industry and they saw substantial layoffs of about 180 more. It says we're only a small city of 6,000, so that put us in a state of devastation. It sounds eerily familiar to what we experienced when the paper mill and had laid some people off. So this was just one solution to try and bring young millennials in, and they had some ideas about trying to respond. It's obviously different. Their solution was that they were a dry county, and they started allowing liquor sales in some of their restaurants. And
maybe we should have pot sales. I don't know.
You're so progressive.
You're moving way too fast.
I don't know. The rest of the world is going there, but
Yeah.
I, for one, don't indulge, but, whatever.
But festivals and events were one of the things that try and bring people in. We talk about tourism. We talk about how you generate more activity, and it was just something that was different, but it was similar to us. And again, just for general information, I wanted to put it in there and keep you.
Well, thank you for that. I think it's great information. I can't wait to go home and really digest it, because
I appreciate that.
But, there was something else that I saw, and somebody else here, I don't know if it was the mayor or else had seen something on public television, or I saw it. Maybe it was you, Cynthia, but on public television, there was a city, and I can't even tell you where it was, that built a full-scale ark, and Noah's Ark. And
Well, we need one with this rain here.
But they bring people. He said, we think big. You got to think big. And it was on public television. I just saw part of it, and they showed a picture of it in the background. I thought, my gosh, it's a real ark. It was actually, and they get people in there. They charge $10 admission or something, and it really generates traffic. Who would ever think about doing that? And I don't know. I can't even tell you what community.
I don't even know if it's the same one, but I was just reading something about the guy that invested $1.3 million in building a 240-foot ark.
Oh.
So that might have been him, or part of that.
Yeah.
That he wanted to do that for his community, and over the years he just took his own money and did it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it takes. I mean, that was somebody's individual idea. He didn't, go to the city and be like, hey, I got a great idea. Here's what you guys should do. That was an individual person that made an idea, and the city obviously got behind it and maybe helped marketing it or making the phone calls to get the publicity for it. But, I mean...
I think if we built an ark with city taxpayer money, we might be in trouble.
I'm not saying this was a city or a government project, but I'm just saying it's just outrageous things like that. And these guys, the other thing about the Irwin, Tennessee, as you pointed out, is that they butchered or killed an elephant way back, and their reputation has been tarnished for 100 years. Now all of a sudden they're turning it around on its side and making it into an asset a little bit. So.
And everything you're talking about is in a book I just borrowed to Keisha. I mean, this is what cities do. They have to stand out because everyone is the same. And the book that I just borrowed her, it gives so many different ideas of what communities tend to do. And it says right in there, don't do this. But come up with your own niche to your own community so that people talk about you at their city council meetings. You know?
Yeah, you're an idea man, all right.
Well, one of the best ideas in there, which I thought was absolutely foolish, is there's a community that put on a zombie crawl, very first ever zombie crawl, and now it's being done all over the world, and they have the #1. It was 2 college kids that went to the city council, said, I want to do this. They get almost 2,600 people a day to do the zombie crawl. They do it 3 times a year.
They sell alcohol with that, I bet.
Didn't the first year because they couldn't get the liquor license.
I can't imagine doing that when I'm cold sober.
We did a zombie crawl here a few years ago. Started at the outpost and went all the way to the... Okay, any other business? If not, adjourn.